Let's give people a chance to chime in. Good evening, everyone. Welcome again to RadioNext.tv. Turn Left. I'm your host, Indiana's own Dana Black. Wow, what has been going on? Are y'all watching the news? Are y'all seeing what's happening with Junior? I'm not even going to talk about it, though. I'm not even going to talk about Junior. You know me. I normally give you a bunch of church announcements, but last week I read to you guys about a lot of fundraisers that are coming up. Be sure to visit the Marion County Democrat website to get all of those fundraisers. I know Senator, I'm having a brain freeze. I probably should put it all out. Carly Macer's having a fundraiser, and a lot of the other folks are having some fundraisers. So just take a look, because there's always a way for you to help. If you're not a door knocker or a phone caller, there's ways to help. But also this Saturday, you meet people when you're out here politicking, as my wife says, who impact you in ways because of their character, because of the way that they embrace you, because of the way they mentor you. I have with me today a guest that has accomplished all of those things within the first couple of weeks of actually meeting him, and that is the Lawrence Township Constable, Terry Burns. Terry, welcome to Turn Left.
Thank you. You're very gracious to me. Thank you very much.
I don't lie. That's one thing I don't. I don't lie. So, I wanted to bring you on. So you're a constable, and so
Yes.
people, when they think about politics and they think about elected officials, they think about representatives, they think about state senators, they may, governors, things like that. They don't think about, things that are down in the township level, like the trustee, or, they even think about city, county council members, right? But they don't think about what's going on at the township level. First, I want to ask you, tell us a little bit about who you are, Terry Burns, not the constable.
Okay.
And then,
we'll do that.
And we'll build up to how you got to the point where you wanted to throw your hat in the ring to run for office for such an obscure office that most folks don't know about.
Right. Well, I don't know how far back you want to go.
What was your mama's name?
Her name was Pat. But
Okay.
I moved down here with my family. My wife Lisa,
Mm-hmm.
my daughter Max, and my son Max, my daughter Tess, back in 2000.
Okay. So you're a newbie.
Oh, pretty new, yeah, considering.
Okay.
Knowing how Hoosiers, I consider myself a Hoosier.
Very good. Very good. That's the right thing to say.
We moved down here because I had spent, before I got into politics, 21 years in the newspaper business.
Really?
So I was a reporter and correspondent in the Chicago area for Copley Newspapers, which owned a bunch of the newspapers in suburban Chicago and down in the state capital in Springfield. And at the time, their flagship paper was the San Diego Union Tribune.
Okay.
Now Copley is no longer, they've broken up, they've been sold off. But
Okay.
I did that for, I was in Chicago for about 16 years doing local politics, federal court coverage, things like that. Then got a chance to go to work for the Times in Northwest Indiana.
Okay.
Up in the region.
In the region,
In
yeah.
the region.
I've been in the region.
It's a great
I got
paper.
I got some friends in the region.
It's a great paper.
And actually, I get a lot of my news about what's going on in the region from the Northwest Times, because when you are concerned about the whole state, well,
Right.
the Star is not going to give you a lot of the stuff that's going on up there.
No,
and
they're
so that's one of my favorite papers. Plus, it's free.
It is free.
I can read it online for free.
And actually, it's an incredibly good newspaper.
Yes.
And we used to compete against the Gary Post Tribune up there all the time. I came down here to Indianapolis for them, like I said, back in 2000 as their State House reporter.
Okay.
And so I spent a few years covering the State House.
Okay.
All the ins and outs down there on Washington Street. And then, after years and years of covering politics, I kind of saw also that the newspaper business was changing and not for the best.
Absolutely. And technology changes everything, doesn't it?
Technology was changing. I thought newspapers were kind of losing their focus. We were seeing a lot of really good people in the news business kind of abandoning ship and going off into public relations or other businesses because it just wasn't the same being a reporter anymore.
Okay.
And so, of course, naturally with my background in covering politics, I kind of had the idea about, well, maybe we give this politics a try.
Okay.
Instead of observing from the outside in all the time, go on the inside.
Throw my hat in.
See what it looked like from the inside. And so went to work for the Indiana Democratic Party.
Okay.
I was their communications director over there.
Okay.
And that was in '04 because
Okay.
Joe Kernan.
Okay.
That was the year Joe Kernan ran against Mitch Daniels for governor.
Okay. Because he took over for
Frank O'Bannon.
Frank O'Bannon, who passed away. Yeah.
Yep. When Governor O'Bannon passed away, Governor Kernan came in, and I mean that was just eye-opening to work for the state party, to help out as best I could on a gubernatorial campaign. Unfortunately, I wasn't happy with the outcome.
No.
And so then moved on, did a little bit of public relations with Hedrick Communications in town. And then a fellow by the name of Ed Tracy.
Yes, I've met Mr. Ed Tracy.
Ed, a legend,
Yes.
came to see me, and we talked a little bit about, he was looking for an executive director for the Marion County Democratic Party, and that was back in, it's like the middle of '07.
Okay.
And Ed lured me over to the county party
All
as executive director, and I was there for almost 2.5 years. Left there at the end of '08 after our successful '08 campaign.
Oh, wasn't '08 blissful? Oh, my God.
It was wonderful. Well, especially if you kind of remember what happened locally in '07.
Yeah.
'08 was a wonderful.
Yeah, because that was '07 was the year the Peterson loss, right?
Correct.
And over the property taxes.
Yeah, there was all the property tax issue, and so we made a strong comeback in '08, and frankly, we've never looked back.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, it's been wonderful here in Marion County, and so then I went over to Ed had asked me then to run the county voter registration office. I did that for a couple of years, and I guess I can blame Ed Tracy for all of this.
Well, we can all blame Ed Tracy because Joel Miller is one of the gentlemen that really guided me and gave me, okay, if you're going to do this, this is probably the best way to do it. And he's a disciple of Ed Tracy. So we're all descendants of the same tree.
We are. And Ed was the one who came to me. I actually remember precisely when it was. Not the precise date, but I was actually going with my wife Lisa for lunch from the city county building. I think we were going over to Star's sandwich shop over there, and I ran into Ed Tracy on the corner, and we started talking, and then for some reason he said, well, why don't you think about running for constable? I had never given it much thought.
It's such an obscure office.
Well, and I told him I'd think about it, and I thought that after taking a look at it, I thought that I could do a good job over there for the voters and the folks in Lawrence Township, and decided I would take a run at it. And there was an incumbent constable at the time, so I kind of dove right in and ran the campaign, and that's kind of how I got involved.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, so what I'm loving of this, a couple of things I want to hit on before we move forward. One is, it doesn't really matter what your background is.
No.
Right? If you want to serve the people, he was asked to run for constable, but if you weren't already committed to, I like serving people, because working for the parties, all of their money comes from donations. We fundraise, right? So party salaries, and they're not a lot, right? They come from donations, and so the fact that you were willing to, after being a reporter, having to sit back on, I'm gonna take a little, it's not about the finances anymore. It's about how we can help the community.
Yes.
The second thing I want to pick up on, I did not know that you were a reporter before. I didn't know that you were in the newspaper business. I didn't know you were a journalist. Before we go any further, tell me what your opinion is now that all the work that you've been doing and have done over the course of your career is now considered fake.
I take it offends me, honestly. I know a lot of people still in the news business, and these folks are good reporters, ethical reporters, ethical editors. They come to work like all of us every day, just wanting to do the best job possible. And it's tough. I mean, when you're facing, in this case, a president or others who keep talking about fake news, that's tough. I mean, they just have to keep plugging at it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the only thing. I mean, this wouldn't be the first time that the news media has come under
scrutiny,
heavy criticism from the executive branch and others, and I think they just have to keep
weathering the storm.
They got to plug away.
Okay.
They got to keep plugging away and get to the truth.
And they're getting to it, and it's slow.
It will happen.
It's a slow drip, but it's coming, because one thing about certain people in certain industries, and journalism is one of them. Man, they nags. I don't know if I think you're a great guy,
They do.
but I bet it's tough on the wife, because you're gonna ask like 14 probing questions before she's gonna be like, baby. Why are you?
We're all inquisitive.
Yes,
we're all inquisitive.
Yeah,
but it's a process.
Yeah, sure.
And
I'm teasing.
there are many good journalists out
Sure.
there, and they're
Sure.
trying their best to deliver the news in an impartial, straight way. And I give them a lot of credit. It's tough.
It is tough.
This would be a tough
It's a tough
environment as a
business.
reporter to be working in.
So tell us about the office of the constable. So you run, you win. First of all, were you surprised when you won?
I think you're always surprised.
Okay.
You've run for office.
Yes.
When you first run for office, and this was, the first time I had attempted to run for a larger office, you put in a lot of time.
You do.
There's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears involved. There
Yep.
is a lot of walking, a lot of door knocking.
Mm-hmm.
You put your heart and soul into these campaigns
Yep.
because you really think you can serve the people,
Yep.
and you can do a good job. And so you really invest a lot, and your family invests a lot, your friends
Yes.
invest a lot in the campaign. That first campaign, like I said, I was running against an incumbent.
Mm-hmm.
And I should know this number by heart, but I'll admit I don't. But I think I ended up winning that first election back in 2010 by about 126 votes.
Wow.
It came out to about, literally it was about a vote and a half per precinct.
That speaks volumes to voter registration and getting out the vote and making sure that these folks that are getting purged off of the Marion County rolls are re-engaged.
Right.
Man, that's tight.
It's a lot about. It's and I believe strongly in the kind of the retail politics.
Okay.
Knocking on doors.
Knocking
I
on
don't
doors.
know how many thousands of doors.
And I love knocking on
We
doors.
have knocked on over the years,
Oh,
and
man.
I've knocked on, and Steve Talley, who's our township trustee in Lawrence, and Kim Bacon, our judge.
Yes, she's coming on the show.
Yeah, I know she is.
I'm excited about it.
We have knocked on a lot of doors.
Yes.
And that's the way to do it. You need to be out. You need to be talking to the people in your township or in your district, whatever it happens to be. And that's the way it has to be. People love it, I think, most of the time.
Yeah.
When you show up on their door.
Absolutely. I had a lot of folks in '88 say this is the first time a politician has come to my door, which I think is sad when you consider this dude was in office for 30 years and he never knocked on your door.
Well, I was always surprised. I got the same thing from a lot of people, that this is the first time someone's knocked on my door. And I looked at it this way: with all the people that run for office, it's surprising.
It's surprising
that nobody has shown up at their door, and they give you a lot of credit for doing that.
Yes, they do. They appreciate the work that you're putting in. So tell us about the office of constable.
Okay.
What is it? What do you do?
That's got to be, since I can remember back since 2010. That has got to be the first question most people ask me.
Okay.
What is a constable?
Okay.
Because it's a fairly obscure position, and here in Indiana, there's actually only 9 constables
For the entire state?
for the entire state, and they are all in Marion County.
Really?
Each township has a constable.
Okay.
So we've got 9 townships. Obviously, in Marion County, we have 9 constables. Primarily what we do is we have full police powers,
Okay.
and we work for the small claims court.
Okay.
So we do a lot of the civil process
Okay.
for each of our townships. For instance, if it's a landlord-tenant dispute, we deal with that. We go out and
Okay.
serve the paper. Myself
Okay.
or one of my deputies goes out, knocks on the door, serves the paper to the defendant. Any kind of civil dispute where there's a lawsuit filed in small claims court, we go out and serve that legal
Okay.
paperwork.
Okay.
It could be neighbors arguing about, a fence.
Property line.
A
Yep.
fence.
Been there.
Or somebody's,
Yeah.
has water draining from their yard into the neighbor's yard and it's flooding the basement or something. We get any kind of civil dispute
Okay.
that comes through the court. And last year in Lawrence Township, we did, if I'm not mistaken, we had about 8,200 cases filed in our court.
Wow.
And that's just one court. in Marion County. There's 9 small claims courts.
Wow. So once the case comes in, are you essentially handed a case file and you have to investigate it?
No. We simply serve the paperwork. We'll get a copy of what in our court is known as a notice of claim.
Okay.
And we'll go out, which lists the plaintiff and the defendant, and then a little bit about what the case is about, and the court date, things like that. And we'll go out, and that's what we serve.
Okay.
And then we serve any kind of follow-up paperwork if there's, there's usually further proceedings, and so there might be an order to appear that needs to be served for somebody, or if they happen to be getting their wages garnished as a result of a judgment in small claims court, we'll serve that kind of paperwork.
Okay.
And if the judge, we'll carry out any kind of judicial order we get from the judge, and that could be anything from seizing someone's vehicle to...
you the repo man?
Well, not really. Not really. Well, that's different.
I know.
Usually it has something to do with a court decision. So there might be some other property that they need to have seized. And if the judge issues the order, myself, one of my deputies, will go out and do that process. And we do the landlord-tenant cases. So fortunately, we don't have many evictions in Lawrence Township, but we carry out those evictions.
Okay. And how many deputies do you have?
I currently have 6 deputies that I work with now that serve papers.
Okay. And were you able to hire them yourselves, or did you inherit them?
A couple I inherited, and I've hired a few myself.
Okay.
One of the things, people may not understand about the constable is, even though we serve the small claims court in Lawrence Township, a lot of times if the case involves, a lot of it we get medical bills too.
Okay.
Credit card bills.
Okay.
So we could be serving people anywhere in Marion County.
Okay.
And it's not
so it's not just in those boundaries. You
correct.
cross
Primarily,
boundaries,
the bulk of our work is done within Lawrence Township.
Right.
But we do have, I do have deputies that serve in other parts of the county.
Okay.
Just for instance, if someone has a medical bill from Community North, which is in Lawrence Township. They happen to be there, but they live down now in Decatur Township or Washington. That kind of paperwork we'll have to serve.
Okay.
So we do that, and we do serve some papers around the state with the help of the sheriffs.
Okay. And so when you took on the role of constable, did you have to get any certifications, any training? Tell us how you were prepared to do the job.
Well, a lot of it, I have to say, I got a lot of help from some of my fellow constables, some of the incumbents on that, and then I went through some training, 40-hour training over at the sheriff's department. In firearms and other things. And so I got that training. That was one of the things I said I would do when elected, would go through the training of the sheriff's office. We did that. And over the years I've gone to different kind of classes and things that are offered with the sheriff's department.
Sure. Okay, for real quick, for all my live folks, you guys know that the rain is coming down. So if we lose our feed, the clouds. We're using 4G. So I just want, if we lose the feed, I apologize. But continue to listen on RadioNext.tv. If you have the TuneIn app, you want to go and download the TuneIn app. And then go to the Cool Grooves. Excuse me. But if we lose the Facebook Live, we're still on the radio. We're still able to work. But I don't want you guys to miss anything, because I'm telling you, this Indiana weather, because there's no climate change or anything like that.
It's kind of crazy. I'm getting tired of all this rain.
The building was flooded downstairs. Normally we enter in through the lower level. But you can go swimming in that down there.
And then the creek was coming up.
Yeah, the creek. Yeah. And there's been fish down there. Okay. So tell us a little bit about some of the hardships that you've had to deal with, and how your role actually helps to, smooth things over for people.
Yeah. Well, obviously a lot of the issues my office gets involved with are pretty emotional.
Sure.
Nobody likes to be sued.
Right.
Okay. Nobody obviously wants to be evicted from their home or from their apartment. And so, there's a lot of emotions involved. There's a lot of tension, a lot of frustration on people's parts. So one of the things I see is that, I need to go in and just try to make sure things go smoothly.
Okay.
One of the things I've told my guys is we treat everybody with respect.
Exactly. And that's huge.
It's big. If you want to really, it doesn't work 100% of the time.
No.
But if you're trying to diffuse an uncomfortable situation, a tense situation with somebody, being respectful,
changes a whole lot.
listening to them, empathizing with, what they're going through. And I understand. I mean, when you go to a home where you have a court order saying you need to evict somebody from an apartment, and you get there, and it's a mom and dad or whatever, and there's a couple kids involved and the dog, and I mean, that's tough.
That's tough.
That is really tough, and so it's a bad situation. You try to make the best of it.
Right.
I mean, it's never a good situation, but just listening to people,
because they're gonna want to vent. They're gonna want to share.
They're gonna want to talk. I mean, a lot of times, folks find themselves in a situation like this through, frankly,
no fault
of their own.
Yeah.
Something, they just had a run of bad luck. I mean, somebody gets sick.
Okay.
They go through a divorce. Things that are kind of beyond your control.
Right.
And suddenly they find themselves facing, a lawsuit in small claims court, or, God forbid, an eviction. And so, I try to work with them. I try to make it as smooth as possible for folks. Make sure that they've got someplace to go.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's awesome. Because I know you have to have compassion for people to say, okay, let me take the next step.
I think you do. I tell people all the time. I mean, the people I deal with these are not criminals.
Right.
I mean, these are people who have fallen on some hard times.
Right. Right. And I imagine, unfortunately, in the space that we're in right now, especially in Marion County specifically, the distrust in law enforcement from all walks of life. And then here you are coming. They're already, there's already that slight distrust. Excuse me. And if you can come with compassion,
right,
I think it changes a lot of things. So
it changes the tone completely.
Absolutely.
I mean, and people obviously are, when you show up for something like that. I mean, obviously they're facing a huge range of emotions.
Absolutely.
But if they know, I mean, if you come in and you start talking to them,
right,
treating them like human beings,
they'll respond in kind.
Showing some compassion, they respond. They really do.
And
I'm surprised sometimes at the reaction I do get.
Okay, because they're in a tough situation.
They're in a tough situation, but they'll thank me.
Right.
And it's like, I mean, that's amazing.
So some of the things that we've noticed recently is that the State House, with their wonderful supermajority. I'm always going back to the State House.
I spent a few years there. Yep.
With their supermajority, they at present are on this kilter to really to minimize the impact of the Democrats' influence in Marion County. They went about the process of eliminating at-large council seats because they thought they were going to get the city-county council. Ha! You didn't get it. You didn't get it. I chuckle at that. That's what you get for trying so hard. If you just run your races, don't worry about it. But also, the way we're having to elect our judges now is changing. Things like that. I'm afraid, as we're the only county that has constables and we do the township system, eventually there's another bill that's going to come down from that State House because whenever they say a consolidated city,
right?
Whenever they write bills and they say the consolidated cities, that is code word for Democratic heaven. We coming from Marion County. Do you worry about, or have you thought about what is coming next from that State House when it comes to how we are treated in Marion County?
I think there's always concern, but a lot of times, as I told people, you can only deal with what you can control.
Okay.
Okay. And obviously, I look at the kind of the makeup in the State House, and there's not a lot we can control there. There have been over the years many attempts to reduce or eliminate township government from the State House. We've been fortunate enough to see all those efforts kind of fall by the wayside. I mean, I've always argued that township government really is the government that's closest to the people. I mean, you can come in and you can see me.
Right.
You can come in and you can see the judge. You can come in and see the trustee.
Right.
You can't really do that on a lot of other levels of government as easily as you can.
Especially when they get those fancy titles.
With township government. And, we're out in the community a lot. The three of us in Lawrence Township Kim Bacon, Steve Talley, and I have a strong commitment to the community. And so, I hope that the legislature, in their wisdom, understands how close township government is to the people.
I think that's cute.
It
He
really-
said
it
wisdom in
really
our state
is.
house right now. I think that's sweet.
I mean, we've had that. I mean, ironically, the last time, which was a couple of years ago, I think it was Senate Bill 536, that dealt with the small claims court. In fact, after years of seeing the legislature kind of try to diminish the role of township government, or even eliminate township government, they actually expanded
Okay.
township government.
Okay.
Especially as it dealt with the small claims court. In 2018, we will become courts of record, because right now small claims courts are not courts of record.
Okay.
Which
Okay.
means there's no court reporters.
Right.
things like
Right.
that. So there'll be much stricter rules of evidence
Okay.
and other legal matters in small
That's
claims
actually a
court.
good thing.
It is a good thing. It is a good thing. So, I mean, I see, just from what I've seen from the legislature in the last couple of years, I think they've realized that there is true value to a small claims court and to township government. So I'm hoping that's the thinking they have. I mean, let's face it, if you need to deal with your township government or something, you live in Lawrence Township, it's a fairly quick and easy to get to your township office.
Right.
Whether you're in Lawrence Township or Washington
Pike or
or
whatever. Yeah.
it's
Decatur, yeah.
fairly easy to get there, as opposed to if you had to make everybody go
Downtown. Yes.
for their cases.
Yes.
That would make it a little bit more
be a nightmare.
complicated. It would be a big nightmare.
It'd be a nightmare.
And that's why I say, township government is really the government that's closest to the community.
And
I mean,
with
because
the city,
we're actually in the community.
right. And with a city this size, it's a big pie. You kind of have to break that pie up.
Oh, you do.
You don't want 600,000 people having to come downtown for every. I mean, granted, not 600,000 people are actually going to small claims court, but when you figure the population is almost 900,000, you take out the kids. That's a lot of people to try to funnel through.
It could
our
be
city county building.
It could, it could be a nightmare.
Just like early voting.
That's right. No, it could be a nightmare. I mean,
It could be a nightmare.
That's why it's nice to have these. You got these 9 separate small claims courts, trustees' office, where people can go to get help
Okay.
in their neighborhoods, in their communities,
Okay.
without having the hassle of having to go all the way downtown, find parking,
Okay.
cut through that bureaucracy there, where you can come to a small claims court and have your case heard and a decision made pretty promptly.
Pretty quick.
Yeah, I mean, a lot quicker than if you had to go through the whole superior court process.
Okay.
So, I mean, there's a huge benefit, I think, to that.
Absolutely.
To getting a case resolved in a quick manner. Plus, in small claims court, in many cases, you can represent yourself.
Okay, so you talked about how you mentioned several times, and I'm picking up on it.
Yeah.
That you and the trustees Steve Talley and the small claims judge
Right.
Kim Bacon, you guys work together. It sounds like you guys work hand in hand quite a bit, not just for campaigning purposes, but as township government.
Well, it's all part of the three of us trying to serve the needs of the folks in Lawrence Township.
Okay.
And obviously, I mean, when you have someone that comes to a small claims court, for instance, and maybe they're being evicted from their home or something's happening. I mean, you can always, might not always be the case, but you can have them go see the trustee's office.
Okay.
And they might be able to get some assistance.
Right.
For some temporary housing or something from the trustee. Again,
Right.
It's a case-by-case basis. But we can see and try to help people, that have come upon a hard time or have had some problem, try to get that at least with some temporary help, try to help them out. And I think, you see the judge, you see the trustee, everybody trying to work to help people out. I mean, you get people in a tough position. We see them every day.
Right.
And what we're trying to do, as a team over there, as a township, we can work together to try to help people out.
Okay. And so how do you all work also with the town of Lawrence? So, Pike and Washington and
Right.
Decatur don't necessarily have the same. I know Beech Grove is down in Franklin and Speedway is
Perry.
out. And,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Perry.
Yeah,
and the
Speedway's
Speedway's out in Wayne.
Yeah.
So how do you work with those other cities within the city, within the township?
It's basically township government and the city of Lawrence. I mean, two completely separate entities.
Right, right.
And that causes sometimes a lot of confusion.
Okay.
When people think of Lawrence Township, the city of Lawrence, than the city of Indianapolis. I mean, the folks in the city of Lawrence, for instance, vote for 2 mayors.
Right.
I mean, they vote for the mayor of the city of Lawrence
And
the mayor of Indianapolis.
Aren't they lucky?
Because a lot of what happens in Indianapolis overlaps with what happens in the city of Lawrence.
And there's also a council in Lawrence.
Correct. And, planning, zoning, a lot of that, they have to work, the two cities, Indianapolis and Lawrence, have to work together. The township is basically we're a completely separate branch of government.
Okay.
And obviously, if we need to work, I mean, for instance, the fire chief for the city of Lawrence, Dino Patelis, is one of our township board members.
Okay.
And so, I mean, we've worked with the city, the trustee's office, and I've been there every year now. The Lawrence Fire Department, during the holidays, distributes food to folks in need in the city of Lawrence and in Lawrence Township.
Okay.
And so we work in partnership. We've helped the Lawrence Fire Department do that. I mean, the trustee and myself and the judge will be down there, packing food and distributing food.
Because it's kind of hard to even distinguish the boundaries of Lawrence
it's
with
tough.
the township
and it's
of
very
Lawrence.
confusing when I'm out talking to people. They sometimes have it's hard for them to figure out. Okay, the city of Lawrence, which is its own municipality, has its own council, its own mayor, and then the city of Indianapolis.
Right, and so, but the people who live in the city of Lawrence can seek assistance from the township.
Correct.
Like the constable, the trustee, and the small claims.
Because the city of Lawrence is in Lawrence Township.
Okay, and see that I think those things are key because people don't always understand the makeup and how it all fits together, and I think that's important. Because this is the first time I've really had someone on the show that is so close to the people. Right? I've done state senators and candidates, but this is the first time where we're talking about because. Julia Carson was a Center Township trustee, and she's a legend, right?
Oh.
She's a legend in Marion County.
No one's ever going to replace Julia.
And I just remember how, even though we were fortunate enough to not have to use the trustee, how my mother and my father talked about the importance of being able for people to get there, and as the constable who has compassion, and in a climate where people are just aren't happy with police officers right now, they're just not, and you're telling us no, that's not our role. We are here as a means of support for your community.
We're trying to help people in the community who may have fallen on hard times, who
absolutely
have had some issues. One of the things too that we do in Lawrence, which I think is kind of unique in Lawrence Township, and this is through the trustee's office, is we have a school clothes program too. Oh. Where we distribute clothing and shoes to kids, because a lot of the schools now are requiring school uniforms and things like that. And let's face it, there's a lot of families out there. It's a financial burden to have to do that. So, the trustee a few years ago started the school clothes program. It's been wildly popular.
Okay.
So we do that, and obviously the trustee also provides emergency assistance for people.
Okay.
We had an apartment complex that was actually in the city of Lawrence, over on 42nd Street, closed down a couple of years ago.
Okay.
And again, through no fault of the tenants over there. The place had just fallen into disrepair. It was horrible. It was, the conditions over there were horrendous. And so, the trustee's office actually, and I went over there with the trustee at the time, set up kind of a mobile command center at this apartment complex. And we help people get temporary housing, food vouchers, things like that.
Okay.
So that they could, have some time to sit down, maybe catch their breath.
Right.
Find, new places to live. And we worked very closely with the city of Lawrence at the time. Indianapolis officials and others to try to help these folks out, because there were a lot of families affected by that. That's what I say when township government is the closest to the people. That's we're there. We're literally on the ground in that township, in their apartment complexes, in their homes, helping out, doing what we can.
And so I often tell people, if you don't like the way certain things go down, for example,
I just see your buddy Joel Miller.
Yeah, I see my man Joel Miller's. When you a lot of people complain about a lot of things going on. For example, I know that there's a rally, Black Lives Matter rally this weekend about the treatment of Aaron Bailey, and I have purposefully not really commented on that issue. And if y'all want to know why, inbox me, I'll tell you. But at the same time, my thing has always been, if you don't like the way our judicial system or our how the process is in dealing with this case, then one of the things that you can do is you can throw your hat in the ring and become an elected official, and depending on where your role is, you can create legislation that directly impacts those decisions. Now, the constable kind of has rules that they have to follow.
Right.
What things other than neighborhood programs, which I think are fantastic,
Yep.
what other kind of things do you get to implement or influence as the constable?
But the whole issue of public safety, I try to make a lot of appearances, especially in the summertime. We go out, the trustee, myself, the judge, to a lot of community events, passing out information. I mean, we try to just help educate people. Not only on things they can do to, better protect themselves,
sure,
stay safe, but the services that we offer as a township. We'll go out a lot. We do a lot of church events.
Okay.
We'll be at fish fries and.
It sounds like you like to eat.
Oh, I love to eat. I love to eat. Steve and I were at Lawrence United Methodist Church a couple of years ago, serving up corn and macaroni and cheese at their fish fry.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll tell you.
That's some good stuff.
I didn't realize how much work that was.
Well, yeah.
They had a lot of people. That was a lot of work.
Because they like food, man.
That was
Whenever
a lot
there's
of work.
food.
Well, we try to get out. I mean, I try to get out as often as I can out in the community. Because you not only can figure out and learn about what they're thinking about, what concerns them, but you can help educate.
And so when you get those concerns, are you in a position to then maybe go to the House rep in that district and say, hey, here are some things, or the state senator and say, hey, here are some things that I'm seeing on the ground, and you can kind of work with. Because I think if John Bartlett is over in that area.
We've got down there John Bartlett and Carrie Hamilton.
Represents
about 20 or so
area
precincts up in the northwest corner of Lawrence Township. And I'll talk to John, I'll talk to Carrie, if the need arises. And, they're all very responsive.
Okay.
I mean, that's the one thing I do find about the elected officials here in Marion County, is that many, many, many of them are very responsive.
Okay.
And pretty easily accessible to people.
Okay.
And they like to be out in the community. They many of them have other full-time jobs.
Right.
But they also have a full-time job as being a state rep or a state senator. And they take it very seriously.
They do. They do.
And they're out a lot. I mean,
and they're easily accessible. And that's why I do the show. One of the reasons why I wanted to do the show is because sometimes we get caught up on the fact that somebody is on television.
Right.
And we don't really understand. These are regular, everyday folks. So don't get me wrong. I go through my elected official groupie moment because I'm pretty much elected. I groupie for elected officials. Some people groupie for athletes and musicians. Me, it's elected officials. That's where my groupie is. But at the same time, you guys are regular people, and you really have compassion for people. And I want people to know who you are.
Right.
So when it's time to go cast that vote again. When is your election up?
I will be up in next year, 2018.
Okay, so you're on the ballot in 2018.
Correct.
Midterms? Because midterms are important, and people want to fall off and pretend like midterms don't matter when they have as much impact, if more impact, in the presidential election. Because now we're shaping the state houses, and because every 2 years, every rep is up in the state house and at the federal level.
As much as I love our presidential candidates and that whole process of electing presidents and United States senators, and the folks that most people think about when they think about elected officials, they're looking at these folks that serve in national office, and I can understand the allure for people,
shiny,
who want to work on a presidential.
Right,
and that's
it's
great.
shiny.
But what I tell people, if you want to have a huge impact,
work on a local race.
Work on local races. Work on a township race.
Yeah, I
come and work for the constable.
I had a great time knocking doors for I did it. The first time I knocked doors was out in Pike Township, and for the trustee out there, Annette Johnson was like, if you're serious about getting involved, come knock doors. And I was there Saturday morning. I didn't even know how to dress.
And that's amazing.
Right?
And that's amazing. And that's probably the hardest working woman I know in politics.
Yeah, and she's everywhere. She's everywhere. I didn't even know how to dress. I was all spiffy, not knowing that it's summertime and you're knocking on doors. I didn't know what that meant, but I didn't want to be, inappropriate knocking on someone's door. Now I know. Put a T-shirt on and grab your clipboard and go.
But and you found out, I think, that you can have the greatest impact when you work on a local race. Again, like whether it's a township race, a state legislative race, a city county council race, a city council race, or a countywide race. I mean, there's others on the ballot, the sheriff, prosecutor,
absolutely,
are on the ballot again next
school
year.
Board, all that stuff.
If you want to really feel like you're having an impact, help out those folks.
Absolutely.
I mean, you can work in your neighborhood, you can work in your community, you can work in your city. You can really get in the trenches and make a difference. And the other thing, again, I'm not going to diminish working on a presidential race. That's wildly important,
and it's fun. I mean,
it's a lot of fun, and it's wildly important. You can learn a lot, but man, if you want to be able to interact with the candidate, or with that elected official,
and what that means,
nothing beats working on a local race.
Absolutely.
I mean, you can actually have FaceTime and sit down one-on-one with the local candidate for sheriff, or prosecutor, or constable, or trustee, or city county council.
I loved it. I knocked doors for Kim. I loved. And so as the state party is gearing up for Resistance Summer, I had a chance to meet with some folks over there, and they've got day of action dates.
Yes.
Where they're going to go out in the communities, register voters, educate people on what's going on. And this is what we're talking about right here. This, and you don't have to do it every day.
No.
Right? No one is expecting anyone to knock on doors. We do it because it's different for us.
Right.
The passion is different for us, where we're, we really want to influence and impact the community in a positive way. So we put ourselves out there to be those leaders. But we also need help, right? We need help with volunteers who are just willing to say, I'm going to just see if I can register 10 voters.
That's all it takes.
And it's so powerful because, think about it, everything flows up. I know people want things to flow down, but I was listening to Mayor Pete the other day, and he talked about how at the local level, it goes up, from township level, it goes up to the local level, and so on and so forth. So everything flows up. Right. So if you can take care of your precincts, right, and you become a precinct committee person, and what that means, all of that work that you're doing is going to filter its way up to that eventual shiny presidential race.
It will.
It gets there, but because it's not glamorous, and you're not on television, you're not getting interviewed all the time, and people are like, yeah, whatever. These things are so important.
Well, I can tell you too, when you knock on doors, you talk to your neighbors, that, as you said, that has a huge impact up and down the ticket.
Up and down the ticket.
Up and down the ticket. And, when we, I love having volunteers. I love to see people who want to be engaged, who want to work on local issues and in local politics. And, you don't, as you said, you don't have to do this every day, 365 days a year. I mean, there are some people who do that because they love to do that. And that's amazing. But if you can give a couple hours a week,
or even
a few hours
a day or two a month,
that makes a huge difference, especially to local candidates who always struggle to find volunteers
because they don't have money.
They don't have money.
We can't pay people.
They don't have the media attention. They don't have the high-profile races. But having a few just willing volunteers can make a huge difference.
It does.
And you don't. And the thing is, you can just do that kind of work in your neighborhood. You don't
have to travel far.
Yeah, in the 3 or 4 blocks of your neighborhood, or down your street. If you could, these folks, your neighbors better than anyone.
Exactly.
So if you can get out in the neighborhood and talk to people,
and that was exciting for me.
That's all it takes.
I did not know.
That's a huge difference.
Right. I didn't know my neighbors were watching. right? My wife and I are we hadn't really hung out in the neighborhood, but we would talk to our neighbors, say, hey, how you doing? But I did not know my neighbors were watching the work that I was doing. And the next thing you know, they're popping up talking about, look at what Dana's doing in the neighborhood. And that is impactful that they support. They may not even have agreed with a lot of the things that I stood for, but they knew that I was in their neighborhood, and I'm a halfway decent homeowner. that pays off. You got to keep. I mow my lawn. It's always good to mow your lawn. But my neighbors were appreciative that wow, Dana's over here, she's working hard, and from there, different conversations. In fact, I knocked on one door in my neighborhood, and he was like, well, how long have you been over here? And I'm like, I've been here since 2009. And our backyards butt up against each other. But what came of it was, and he was a Republican. He let me know, well, I'm a Republican. But before it was over, we were enjoying cocktails together on his porch because we're neighbors.
Right. I mean, if anything, obviously, if you're going to work your neighborhood, knock on some doors, you're not only going to help your candidate, but I mean, you're going to be surprised what you find out about your neighbors.
Absolutely.
I mean, and you can develop some long-term relationships in your neighborhood that you didn't have before.
You didn't have before.
Because I'll tell you, when someone knocks on the door, I mean, when I go knock on someone's door, they enjoy seeing me, I think, as a candidate, and we talk and stuff. But I'll tell you, if they see a neighbor or someone that knocks on the door and says, you know what, hey, I live down the street, they're going to listen.
Oh, absolutely.
They're going to listen to you
because they have some commonality.
You have that a lot in common living in the same neighborhoods, and you can affect a lot of people that way.
Especially when people are talking about potholes. I mean, it didn't matter that I was running for a state office, and that municipalities take care of streets and potholes. Right. That was the number one thing that I heard when I knocked on doors were, who's taking care of this pothole?
It's true. Potholes, curbs and gutters.
Oh my God!
Trash
pickup,
flooding.
It's all the things that impact everyday lives. Another thing that Mayor Pete talked about was in South Bend, he is working on cleaning up a lot of the boarded homes and abandoned homes. What does that look like in Lawrence, in Lawrence Township? I personally am not familiar with, what that looks like for us, and maybe do we need to address that?
I think probably every community in this county
has some of that
issue and needs to address it. And I think it's a slow process, legal process to do. I think the mayor, Mayor Hogshead, has been doing a great job trying to focus attention on the need to get rid of these abandoned homes because, I mean, frankly, they don't do a lot of good for the neighborhoods.
No, they don't.
They attract a lot of problems, and but it's an issue of legally being able to tear down these homes or get them rehabbed.
Right.
I'd love to see most of these homes get rehabbed and turned into affordable housing.
Right. Without necessarily being gentrified.
Correct.
Because gentrification is a whole nother animal.
Because you see in a lot of these communities, affordable housing, good affordable housing, is sometimes hard to come by.
It really is.
And that's part of the struggle I see with these families too, is that it's just difficult for them to find, the keyword here being good.
Yes,
and
safe.
Affordable, safe housing.
Especially since, I go back to the State House again because you know how much I love them. Especially since on July 1st, over 40 new tax increases and different fees that are going to be passed down to to us as residents. So basically the cost of living in Indiana has gone up, but wages are still stagnant. So what you could afford, maybe last year may not be the same thing you can afford this year. So I think what the constable is talking about in rehabbing and creating this is where there's that public-private partnership thing where someone says, I got a passion to give back. You got to have a philanthropic notion with that because you're not going to make a lot of profit off of making sure that people have quality homes to live in when they don't make $100,000 a year.
Well, and I think we've seen these issues in to our neighbors in the north up in Hamilton County. There's been a lot of talk lately about the lack of affordable housing in Noblesville.
Really? Oh, wait.
And
no,
Fishers.
they're all rich up there. What are you talking about? What?
Unfortunately, a lot of times in these communities, you can work there, but you can't afford to live there.
Absolutely.
Okay. And I know in Lawrence Township, just in the last couple of years, I talked a little bit about that 42nd Street studio apartments closing down. That was a fairly small complex, but it did affect a lot of families. But we've had the Oak Tree apartments which are 42nd and Post, which at one time was a very large complex. That's shut down.
Gone. Yep.
So, I mean, you're losing, a lot of affordable housing options.
And is anybody actually trying to do anything with these complexes, even if they have to bulldoze them and build them up again? Or
again, I know that Cafe up in Lawrence Township has been looking at that area around 42nd and Post in the old Oak Tree Apartments.
42nd and Post.
Because that's a lot of acreage up there.
Yes, it is.
That could be turned into affordable housing, multi-use areas.
Some green space would be nice.
Green space, some, maybe a drugstore.
Not necessarily a dog park, though.
Something.
I don't know about y'all's dog parks,
but something for the community.
Absolutely.
Up there, because that's a lot of nice land now sitting there, essentially.
Even a community garden,
vacant,
especially
with a lot of rotting buildings.
Yes, community garden where since there's that area is almost a food desert.
Right.
If it's not, because I know there was a Kroger at 38th and Post. Is it still there?
No.
I can't think. So that's a food desert. I mean, if we could get a community garden over there. So there are a lot of things that these are things we should lobby for, you.
Well, a lot of things, too, when you look at like the city of Lawrence, there really is no Indigo service in the city of Lawrence.
Wait.
As opposed to the township.
So there's like a perimeter where they don't cross over? What?
Which makes it difficult for people to get to jobs and things, too.
Absolutely.
And that's what Indigo's talking about doing. I think this new purple line through Lawrence.
It's going to fix that.
Yes.
Yeah, because I know that where I live, I have to walk, I would have to walk a mile and a half to get to a bus stop.
Right.
I like the idea of public transportation, especially since now there's a new gas tax. And there's a new, increase in registration costs and all that. If I could find a way to save money by getting an Indigo pass, and I work downtown,
right?
So it's it's not as I'm not in Plainfield. I'm not working in in one of the. I'm downtown where traffic goes. I would love to take advantage of public transportation.
Bus or light rail would be phenomenal.
Something.
I think you'd be surprised how many people would end up using it. Now it would take a while. I think we're still
way behind.
We're a big car culture.
And we are way behind.
But it would take a while. But I think I go to cities, where my son has lived, like Washington and now in New York City. And see their subway, public transit.
Yes.
I mean, it's amazing.
It's amazing. Even Atlanta.
You can get almost anywhere.
Anywhere. In Atlanta, they have the train. I mean, people don't think, they think, when they think public transportation, they think L.A., New York, Chicago, the L. But when you go down to Atlanta, the traffic down there is murderous, right? But you have the MARTA and you have the train in Atlanta.
And Denver, too, is a nice public transportation
and Dallas. Dallas is a great one. So there are other places that are not the big three. And Indianapolis is what, 14 on the size as far as size of cities, and the fact that the city this size does not have good, reliable public transportation, it's just.
And when you see the subways,
tragic.
The Fishers, Noblesville. I mean, there's plenty of
opportunities
there for public transportation.
Opportunities, and trust me, it does drive me nuts to see how much revenue actually leaves our county. I ain't gonna lie.
No, I think it'd be fantastic to be able to catch a bus, maybe a direct bus or some kind of light rail, to be able to get downtown.
Absolutely.
You're going down for a game, you're going down for a concert, you're just going down for dinner, to avoid having to drive and park and pay.
There's alternatives, right?
Yeah.
I mean, especially for like my wife.
Gives you an option.
Where we use, my wife uses a wheelchair, so man, how cool would it be to be able to just get? I mean, I know we could call the special,
right.
You gotta that whole thing is needs to be revamped on how people with special needs get around in the city of Indianapolis. It's almost ridiculous. It's almost like calling a chauffeur,
right?
And scheduling it literally a week in advance or 2 and 3 days in advance of your doctor's appointment. If you have special needs and you don't drive and you need public transportation, don't have an emergency. Because you're not getting. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done in our city, and I know that there was a lot of conversation about the blue, green, purple lines, whatever color that. But it's a start. I mean, it's not perfect, and I knew it wasn't perfect. This is like the ACA. It was not meant to be the end all, be all. Right. It's a starting point for us to improve on those things. And if you don't like them, then run for office.
Yeah, I was going to say, run.
Run for office.
Get on the council. Go to the legislature.
Do something. We can sit. It's so easy. This is where I do my thing, right? It's so easy to sit around and complain about what's not right. it takes some gumption to actually fix what's not right. And even though we may not always agree on what the right thing is, to be doing something is a whole lot better than pretending like you're not doing anything. And some of the things that are really disheartening is a lot of what we're talking about public transportation. We're talking about, how people get from point A to point B. And I'm not saying that only black people use public transportation. That is not what I'm about to say. But a lot of things impact us too. Right. And we need, as African Americans and people of color, we need to be getting ourselves involved with a lot of these decision-making things, right? They're affecting us. Like, I heard stories of, when they change the bus line, it's actually going to make it more difficult for people who have already been using the bus line for a long time to appease folks who are going to be the new users, right? And so, grandma who's been able to go to the store and only walk, a couple blocks is now going to have to walk a little farther. But see, we're not sitting at the table when these things are coming up. And then if you're not sitting at the table, whatever happens to you is going to happen to you.
Well, that's why I tell people, get involved at the local level.
Get involved.
Because I'll tell you what, if you got an issue with public transportation, with a pothole, whatever.
Potholes.
I mean, I guarantee you could pick up the phone and you could call and get through to your city, county councilman.
Yeah.
Your state rep, your state senator, your township official. Now, good luck getting through to the White House or to he
doesn't even let cameras in press conferences anymore. So
or your senator or your I mean personal. I mean, I'm talking a personal phone.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you can call up John Bartlett.
You can
call up Carrie Hamilton.
Robin
call
Shackelford.
Up me,
yep.
Robin Shackelford or your city, county councilman. They'll probably return your phone call.
Yeah, I don't know if Mike. I don't know if Mike McQuillan in Lawrence is going to call anybody back.
I think Mike would.
You think Mike would call me back?
Mike
You think if I called Mike McQuillan right now? Nah, he might be. I don't know. Yeah, he might be. But what if I'm teasing you, Mike?
I know Mike could call you back.
Mike, I actually, as far as Republicans go, he's all right.
Mike's real active in the community.
He's
Mike's
out
a lot in the community.
He is. He's an all right Republican.
He's been working a long time in this community.
He is. He has. And I had a chance to chat with him and meet with him. And every time we see each other, we're incredibly cordial to each other. Because I like his votes. I like some of his votes on the council.
I think that's the thing too on the local level, as opposed to what we see going on now.
Right.
Yes, I think there is a lot of bipartisanship.
Yeah.
Locally.
Oh, him and Maggie Lewis.
And
you
people
can watch
get
them.
along pretty well.
Yeah, you can. You watch him and Maggie Lewis.
Yeah.
They work together.
Right.
They obviously don't agree on everything, but you can see where the right in our city county council where they kind of come together on some issues.
They'll be opposed, but you know what? It's civil.
Yes.
I mean, I can go talk to Mike McQuillan or Jim Merritt, and we can have a civil conversation. I don't see that happening in Washington.
You talked to Jim Merritt?
Yeah. Yes.
Maybe I should see what I can do about getting some Jim Merritt time.
There you go.
Yeah, state senator. He's who represents me too. So so one of the things that I like about the show is that everything is not glamorous. Everything is not super spicy, right? And one of the reasons why I like you is because you have a calming effect. I get hyped. Right, and I can come with a lot of energy, but I like the way that you explain things and you break things down so that people understand it. It was beneficial to me back in 2015 when I started, and I just wanted people to say, hey, there's a constable. What does the constable do? And now you can
just because I'm calm doesn't mean I'm not passionate.
Well, I know you're passionate.
I think we all express it differently, and I like to be pretty blunt and
I like that.
Give people as much help as I can, because I think. What we do in serving people is important.
And that's it.
I like to see good
people
who want to get involved, serve their communities. I mean, I'll be happy to talk to them.
Absolutely. And it's about serving people. If you're doing it for self-gratification, step aside, because that's not the plan that we're on.
You may not always like what I say, but I'm going to be blunt.
I'm trying to think if there's ever been a time you just come with it. Right? I mean, you just come with it, and people don't realize, but you can get that from your constable. You can get a straight answer from you, whereas Mayor Hogsett may not be able to give you what you want because Mayor Hogsett is at a different level.
I think the mayor's been doing, honestly,
I think he's doing a great job.
A wonderful job.
I think he's doing a great job.
I've never seen a guy, honestly, more passionate in my life than
oh man,
the mayor. I mean,
I have raved on him over the last couple
Yeah.
weeks because of some of the events that I've seen him do. But even still, he has to he represents 900,000 people.
Oh, I know. Well, I said earlier, I think, you, the mayor, are people that, get out there and talk and are so passionate. I mean, you can drive crowds into a frenzy. I wish I had that ability. I am not that kind of dramatic public speaker, but listening to people like you and the mayor talk, I mean, it's infectious.
Oh my God.
I mean, you guys do a tremendous
Were you
job.
at the HH dinner?
No.
No, okay.
No.
The mayor had a straight up drop the mic moment. I mean, he got up, he said his thing for like 2.5 minutes.
Yeah.
And then literally just left us all like, wait, come back. Don't leave.
I have never had that kind of ability. I envy people like you and the mayor and Congressman Carson.
Congressman Carson's also
people
true,
who
yeah.
can get up there and just,
Go.
get that crowd on its feet. And that's amazing.
It's amazing stuff. It's good, and it's good. So everybody has, like I tell people all the time, everybody has a job to do, right?
Yeah.
And some people are good organizers. Some people are good at strategy.
Right.
Some people are good at getting people fired up. Everybody has a job to do. You can't, be Dana, and I can't be
Right.
Terry, and everybody has to find their space, and that's.
It's a big arena. There's room for everybody to do
and especially
stuff.
under this big tent.
Oh yeah.
The big tent. Okay, this is Turn Left for the day. I sit around and just have a good time talking to Terry, so I know I've ran over a little bit, and I apologize. But remember, Resistance Summer, make sure you get signed up, indems.org/join. We have some days of action that we've already kind of outlined in counties up and down the state, Howard County, Montgomery County, Johnson County, all the different counties. It's not just Marion County. The state party is really looking to get involved and get in these neighborhoods and communities and let them know, listen, we got a message. We got a message. We got a plan. We want to keep people involved and get you engaged. This is not an off year. I've said that a gazillion times. We got a lot of work to do because if we really want to change the way the state of Indiana is moving, we got to flip some seats in that state house. People don't realize, and I'll say it again, people don't realize that state house had the ability to say yes or no. They were going to expand Obamacare in Indiana. And they have the ability to say yes or no if we can have at-large seats in Marion County, or how many precincts can be in Lake County. The State House has a lot of power, and we have the power to change the face of that State House if we just concentrate on what's most important. Democrats, I need you to work with us now. No, we got a lot of work to do, and perceived power is not real power. If you are holding on to your little space in, A County, Indiana, and not realizing the big picture, you're doing everybody a disservice. So I need all of us to, work together. We're not going to agree on everything, but just come together, work with the state party, work with your county officials, and let's make some positive changes, and let's shake up the world in 2018. You know what I'm saying? Let's not do the 22% turnout that we did.
It starts now.
It started last month.
Well, before that.
For me, it started November 9th. You know what I'm saying? I was on a mission since November 9th. All right, thank you guys for listening in to Turn Left. Next week, J.D. Ford
There we go.
is on the show, I believe, next week. I'm excited because he's a candidate running. I met him before I knew I was going to run for office, and he's one of the reasons why I threw my hat in the ring.
There you go.
He was just that amazing of a guy. So next week, J.D. Ford. Thank you guys for watching. Terry, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Dana,
I hope to have you
pleasure.
back again.
Anytime.
I might get all the trustees on all the township people on the show at one time. I got enough mics.
There you
I got
go.
enough mics. All right. See you guys next week. Indiana's own Dana Black, Turn Left. Thank you guys.